Good afternoon. Welcome back to the 2021 PGA Championship here at the Ocean Course in Key Island, South Carolina. We are very pleased to be joined by official world golf ranking number 4, Xander Schauffele. Xander, welcome to what is your 5th career PGA Championship. And what's interesting about your progression is that with every appearance, you've played better and better. Appeared in the top 10 last August back in California. So is there something that you're kind of syncing up with about what a PGA Championship golf course is and learning more as you go along? And have you learned enough to get to the winner's circle this week, you think?
I hope so. That's the plan. All the failed attempts are hopefully going to lead to success at some point, and I think I can attribute all the recent good play in the PGA Championships, or the better play, I should say, just experience. I think as the courses get harder, if you look at sort of, I don't even remember my first PGA was Quail Hollow, scoring-wise was one of the tougher ones. My second was at Bellerive. That was an easier score. And then it kind of ramped up with, Bethpage and Harding Park, and now here. So, I don't see a really low score winning this week with the wind and difficulty of the course, which usually feeds into sort of, my ballpark.
Okay, let's open up the floor. Juan?
So you had plenty of occasions of playing with wind. I mean, in Hawaii, you played with wind and these conditions. I mean, you have Pacific, Atlantic, everything. So, I mean, what do you do here? And what do you do mentally and then with your game?
It's just like San Diego. It's super windy. I'm kidding. San Diego is about, if it's blowing 10 miles an hour, it's breezy. And this is new. It's been a while, I'd say, since I've played in a lot of wind. And it does funny things in your golf game and your golf swing. So just been trying to iron out sort of those compensations that I've been making and moving along in that direction.
So you were talking about San Diego, and there's some questions from media in San Diego about like the contrast. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of big tournaments by the water this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have these,
a lot of coastal tournaments. Yeah.
So what would you say? I mean, what is the contrast and what is like very specific about each of the golf courses and each of the tournaments?
Just different grass. I think the greens here are perfect. They're paspalum. The fairways are perfect. They're some sort of mix of Bermuda with a little paspalum. They're kind of spotty in certain areas with the type of grass it is. I'm not too aware of, but everything's perfect. Torrey Pines should be in great condition. It's nice to have everyone out in August or whenever the U.S. Open will be in a couple months here. The grass is very different. The greens aren't as pure at Torrey Pines. They're bumpier, sketchier. If you hit a good putt out here, there's no reason it shouldn't go in. So in terms of coastal golf, I think it's just wind dependent. That's probably the only similarity the two properties have is that they're on the water and that they're both going to be windy. So just kind of prepare your game for sort of windy conditions and find out how to flight the ball correctly.
So we were talking with Rory before about 2012, and we were talking about when you have memories of winning something. And we were talking with Adam Scott too, and the memories are more like mental than anything. It's not so much the technique or what you did and all that. So I know this might be a family secret, but what do you do mentally? And if you can be a little specific, in a tournament like this.
I mean, mentally, it's just if you're not tired after each and every round you play this week, then you probably didn't try hard enough. When it's windy like this, it's a complete headache for the player and the caddy. Yeah. It's a collaborative effort, and it's just tough. It's really tough, and if you and your caddy can focus for 6 hours each day, it's a major championship. If you can focus for long enough and more than everyone else, you have a better chance of beating them. So obviously you got to hit the right shots and everything, but you also have to think your way around the property when it's this windy.
Xander, let's zoom out. Let's engage with Zephyr Melton. Zephyr, thanks for joining us. You're with Xander. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Xander, you mentioned compensations in the wind. I'm just wondering what are some things that you do to play effective golf in the wind?
When I say compensation, I mean the way I swing, I sort of tug on the handle and I can shut the face down pretty quick. That sort of bowed left wrist that people like to refer to. When it's windier, I feel that I need to hit it even lower, and that bowed left wrist sneaks in even more too soon in my swing, and I'll get it going left and kind of up high to the right, and those shots aren't good in the wind or on any condition for that matter. So for me, it's sort of trying to stay as sort of, the old saying is swing easy when it's breezy or whatever the saying is. But that's sort of the mentality that, my dad and I have been trying to work on this week, is sort of not getting too caught up with sort of crosswinds or into the wind, and still trying to swing as if there was no wind almost.
Okay, let's zoom out and join with Steve DeMeglio. Steve, go ahead, sir. You're with Xander.
Xander, just curious, how difficult have you played the 17th?
Yes, I have.
How difficult is it, and the challenge playing that hole?
I hit a 2-iron in the water, and then I hit a 2-iron to 2 feet. I think that kind of sums up the hole, in all honesty. When you're hitting a long iron into wind and it's struck properly, it should hold its line and its flight. If you don't, it's going to go way offline and not hold its flight. So I think for me, it's sort of, you really got to muster up some courage coming down the stretch, and depending on where they put that tee box, it's going to be really tricky.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Let's zoom out one more time to Mark Greenhawk. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Xander, it's well documented. You've had a bunch of close calls in the majors and the players. They always say that you learn from your losses. What are your takeaways that kind of helps you prepare mentally for this week at the PGA Championship?
Yeah, the takeaway is a couple things. I think that the first takeaway is that I can win. I think I've done it before, and I've put myself in a lot of situations in big tournaments to do it, so I know that I can do it. I just haven't done it yet. And the second thing is the mistakes I've made are all very similar. I've sort of been in contention when I've been playing really, really well, and I've sort of been around the lead as well when I haven't been playing as well. And I think both times I sort of lost track of where I was in the tournament in terms of mentally, and I wasn't present. And I think that's a lot of what champions talk about, how they're able to stay present and go shot to shot and sort of stick to what they know best. And for me, I haven't won a whole lot in my life or my career when it comes to golf. So it's such a new thing for me, and I'm still getting used to sort of trying to win. And sometimes I get ahead of myself and sort of look too far in advance.
Juan? Thank you, Mark.
So two big themes going on this week. Ryder Cup. I mean, every 2 years we start talking about the Ryder Cup. So have you talked to the captain? What are you looking forward there? What are the preparations? What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's sort of been small, chatter text-wise. I know Strickard fairly well now, him being sort of a vice captain or assistant captain at the President's Cup, and sort of playing around and being around him now for a few years. In terms of preparation, I think he just wants everyone to keep their head down and focus on playing each and every golf tournament, each and every shot. He doesn't, he announced that there's a lot of points out to grab still, and I'm not really thinking a whole lot about it yet. I think there are some scheduled practice rounds at Whistling Straits that we should attend if you're in the top 25 or so, and I'll do those. But besides that, it's sort of week to week and day to day for me, and the Ryder Cup's so far away in my mind and on my schedule that I'm just worried about this week.
So something that is closer is the Olympics, no? And can you tell us about your plans for that, and also your personal connection with Japan? No?
Yeah, of course. Olympics, unfortunately, I think they announced that there's no foreign spectators. It's kind of a tricky one. Obviously, Japan's invested a lot of money and infrastructure, or built a lot of infrastructure and stuff to accommodate the Olympics and tourists and everything. So I understand why, there's sort of questions about having the Olympics. But for me personally, my grandparents live in Shibuya in Tokyo, and I've been there a bunch, and I love Japan. I love being there. I love the culture and everything. So if I do get on the team, it looks like I'd be playing.
All right, Xander, let's zoom out to Kathleen Bissell. Kathleen, you're with Xander. Go ahead, please.
Xander, what's your opinion of the ocean course? I assume this is the first time you've seen it?
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
What's your opinion of the ocean course? I assume this is the first time you've seen it?
Yeah, I played 18 holes yesterday. I played 9 today, saving the back 9 for tomorrow. Let it kick my butt before I start the tournament on Thursday, but it's tough. I read that the scoring average in 2012 was 74.5 or 74.6, which was the second hardest tournament the guys played in 2012. And with it being windy and sort of a constant wind and breeze, I feel that it's going to be a very difficult task and a big ask on certain holes. Just a really good test, honestly. So I think it's a really good venue for a major, and it seems like everyone's excited to play.
Xander, Adam Scott talked about the length of the golf course, and even though this is the longest yardage-wise for in the history of major championship golf, how that doesn't seem to phase especially young players, and I'd put you in that group.
Thank
is
you.
that something that you notice, and or is it just something you have to experience once you're out there, but it doesn't enter into your preparations?
You notice it when you're playing a 600-yard hole straight into the fan, blowing 20 miles an hour. It's something you notice. It's rare for certain guys out here not to be able to reach par fives. I honestly don't even know if the longest guy on tour could reach that hole. I think it's the 16th or so when it's blowing straight in. It's something you take account for. When it's so long and no one can reach it, it almost seems fair again. People talk about distance and everything, but when you have holes that are so long that, for example, I was playing with someone yesterday that I hit it further than, but into the wind, he flighted one a little bit more than I did, and I kind of hit it a little bit higher, and we were 4 yards apart. And downwind, I was 30 yards ahead of him. So it really plays into shot shaping and your ability to flight and control your windows more than anything else. So I think the more comfortable you are with flighting golf shots or controlling your flight, the better you'll play in tournaments like this.
Do you start working on that weeks ahead of time, days ahead of time, between season A and season B, or when does that all happen?
Yeah, absolutely. You try and find a range that's straight into the wind. Your miss is amplified into the wind, and that's kind of just it. So if you thin it or toe it or heel it or hook it or slice it into the wind, it's going to look like the worst shot anyone's ever seen out here, even for us. And so you can't really prepare for it, honestly. I've been working in San Diego and trying to flight the golf ball, hitting certain windows, but as soon as you come out here, you start tensing up a little, you start changing how you attack the golf ball, and the rest is history. So you really try and control your window as much as possible.
Go ahead.
So rangefinders, green books, the technology more and more, some people say you're losing like the feeling when you're playing golf, like the creativity because of this. What do you think?
A little bit. I think when it's this windy, and it is called the ocean course because it's right on the coast, wind will move a ball on the green. So you can look up the greens book all you want, but if it's, you got a left edge putt and the wind's blowing 20 right to left, probably should play right edge. And no book or person's going to tell you how to do that. You just got to kind of feel that. So, I think technology, when it's this windy, is sort of out the window, and you really got to rely on a lot of your feel.
Couple more. Let's go out to Mark again, out in Zoomsville. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Xander, going back to about the wind and everything, and the fact that you said you hit a 2-iron on 17, is a 2-iron a standard club in the bag, or have you made some changes because of all the shots that could be into the wind this week?
It's a club that hasn't been in my bag in a really long time. It kind of seemed like a no-brainer. I would much rather hit an iron into a 240-yard hole than a 7-wood. You catch a 7-wood at the bottom of the face, it's going to go 50 yards short into this wind. So it is a new club in my bag. I've been trying to work on it a little bit more, and I just know it's probably the right way to go with it being windier.
All right, we're going to join up with Adam here. Adam, go ahead, sir.
Xander, I'm just wondering, has any player asked your father about coaching them?
I don't think so. I really don't know. I'd have to ask him. I really,
Well,
I'm not sure.
how would you feel about another player working with him?
Just absolute betrayal. I'm just
Are
kidding.
you surprised?
It depends on who it is.
Are you surprised that others haven't, considering how well the success he's had with you?
These are interesting questions that haven't been really asked. I don't know. I think there are, world-renowned coaches out there that have worked with several people. My dad, obviously, he got his hands on me when I was very young, and he had his thoughts on the swing and implemented them at a very young age. So, if you're 40 years old or 30 years old and you've sort of been swinging the way you swing, I don't know if he'd be the best person for you. He could argue differently, but, if I was 35 years old and I didn't have my dad as my swing coach, I'd personally look for someone that, in all honesty, brought 10 guys up on the PGA Tour or works with 10 guys, just because he's probably seen more. My dad's worked with me my whole life, and we've had a lot of success, but compared to a lot of other coaches, him working with me has limited his ability to work with a lot of other people, and there's push and pull to that situation.
You think he'd see it as ultimate betrayal, absolute betrayal, if you went to work with someone else?
Probably. We've talked about it. We joke about it now, but we had serious talks about it for a while. You know, if he felt he couldn't take me far enough, and we felt like we weren't working well enough, then the best solution, you know, we both want me to play the best golf I can play, and if it meant going to someone else, then it meant going to someone else. But so far, we can iron out tough situations still, and we work well together. So I don't really see the point in going to see anyone else.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Let's wrap it up with one question about what you just see in these greens. We've heard a few thoughts that they're running pure. Just your observations for being here for a few days.
They could be the nicest greens I ever putted on. I thought Shadow Creek was in incredible shape for the CJ Cup this year. Obviously, they have a lot of money to pour into their property. I've played on past Palm greens a few times, and these are just flawless. You know, I think the fact that they don't pitch or make spike, like when you hit a ball into a green, they don't make a hole at all. So the surface area stays very flush and very clean. You don't really see any marks anywhere on the surface. So they're really nice. They're really predictable. Doesn't mean you're going to make putts, but it sure does feel like you should make everything you look at when you're on the surface, just because they're rolling so nice.
Xander, thanks so much for the time. We will make sure never to betray you going forward. So have a terrific week, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you.